Hello, everyone. Uh, Welcome to the podcast. So, in September, I thought I had recorded an extra podcast that I didn't. So, due to that, I was uh, short a podcast one week and didn't even realize it until the next week when I went to go upload. It was during the 2 months that I just wasn't sleeping great and just didn't feel great. So, I really wanted to do a podcast every week. So that way I could, you know, have 52 podcasts and, every year and just kind of keep up with it. Well, when I forgot, it kind of upset me and I was like, man, this really sucks. I really wanted to try keeping this schedule and I messed up on that. And I then came up with this idea to have my friends tell stories about me and then do it for my birthday because, it was really close to my birthday to begin with. This is my birthday. I was born on this day. So I thought it'd be a really cool idea to have my friends do it. I didn't give them a lot of time. I only gave them like about 15 days notice or so. And yeah, a couple people showed interest. But the problem, like, I'm trying not to not make this a pity party because it's not supposed to be. Um, Things happen. People get busy. People forget things. I get all that. So I'm not trying to get sympathy for any of this. Like I know some of the other podcasts, like the one with my sister, I really felt like I was hitting too much that, you know, I wasn't the favorite and I didn't want pity out of it. It was just I've always understood certain things, that's where my place is. And hey pumpkin. And it's just, me trying to verbalize it without making it sound like I'm complaining. And anyway, the reason I'm bringing that up is just because, even though a couple people had shown interest in this, um, as you can tell by the thumbnail, I put a deadline for submitting stories at the 15th, and today's the 15th at 1:30 in the morning, and no one's submitted anything, so I'm kind of doing this alone, and it just people get busy, so I'm not complaining. It sucks because I was really looking forward to hearing stories of people telling about me, but also in the back of my head, I knew that people weren't going to be able to do it for a few reasons, the time restraint. I only gave them 15 days notice, so there's that. Also, I've never done anything like super crazy in my life. I've had very little friends growing up. So, not a lot of people knew me while I was growing up. I think out of the people I still talk to, um, two of them, maybe three of them, knew me through high school. The rest of them I became friends with after high school. And again, that's four people or five people that I've actually spent a fair bit of time with, and a lot of it's just been um nothing noteworthy, I guess. I don't want to sound like I'm a cliff note on people's lives, but it's just I don't do anything that's so extreme that people are going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that vividly. I'm pretty sure on the last podcast I brought up that Jay, the first time I met Jay and a couple other people that I met, it was very much this interaction where I was like, I'm weird, and they're like, oh, we're all weird. And I'm like, no, I'm really weird. And then like an hour later, they're like, damn, dude, you're really weird. So like, yes, Nico. So like, um, there's like little things like that, but and I was expecting like to hear their point of view on these stories. Like that was the idea, is just to see their point of view on things that we had done together. Like I was going to be stepping away. Like I was not going to be a part of it at all. I was going to be the beginning and then the end. That was it. Everyone else was going to be in the middle. So the fact that it didn't happen kind of bums me out because I was really looking forward to the stories. But it's not something that's uncommon with me. I find that, at least with me in general, like, I'm kind of like an asshole to some people. I'm really honest and I'm very emotional. So, due to the fact that I'm very emotional, like, if I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm sad, I'm sad. If I'm angry, I'm angry. Like, I don't really lie to people. Like, I haven't lied in, like, many years. Like, I just wanted to tell people the truth, and because I wanted to tell people the truth so much, I just decided that I was going to tell people the truth. Like, if I didn't like you, I was going to tell you. If I had a problem with you, I was going to discuss it with you. Like, um, I had a problem with Chris a while back, and like, I was just trying to explain to him what the problem. Like I'm very much into one of those people where if I have a problem, I will talk it out. Like if I'm upset or if I'm mad about something, I want to know why I'm mad, so that I can either avoid that in the future or find ways to deal with it differently. It's just the way I want it to be. So, yeah. Um, but due to the fact that no one's really here to tell stories, I guess I'm just going to tell stories of my own. Vivid ones that I remember of people. Like, it doesn't have to be long stories, but I'm just going to try my best here. Because I'm doing this all, like, on the fly. I'm just sitting in my computer room, um, telling you guys stories. So, the first one I'm going to tell, oh man, this is really difficult because a couple of the stories that I'm thinking of, I have to drop names, but I very much dislike dropping names. Just because the fact that, I don't want people to, like, not be able to defend themselves. Like, I know I don't have that many, uh, subscribers here. I only have 35. But the idea is the fact that those are 35 people that I'm telling this story to that the other person can't. So it's kind of one of those problems. But I'm going to I'm going to just say names. Because none of these stories are supposed to be bad. It's just, like, I'm going to be talking about, like, my first meeting with certain people and going from there. So, until I was about the age of 10, I lived somewhere else than I live now. And we moved up here because my sister's father had cheated on my mother. And my mom's high school boyfriend lived up here. So we moved to, because she had actually, his brother lived across the street from my grandparents. And they had talked after the breakup, and my mom was like, talk about the fact that everything. And he's like, well, you can always just, move up here with me. So we did. I was about 10. I actually had my 10th birthday up here. Um, Within that time frame, I got stung by a bee for the first time. I um, met twins. They were girls. They were like my best friends. I can't remember their names, and I really wish I did because it would been so awesome to actually, know certain people, but from your past, like, but um, I also my mom started meeting her best friend for like because they would live in the same building, and I also try to think of anything else. I found a bird around the same time. It was like a lovebird. I found that out afterwards, and it had flown away and had no mate. So it just kept singing to its mate that it had lost. Um, I also met two people that I kept in my life for a long time. Actually, one I kept in my life for a very long time, and the other one left and then came back. The first one, it's the one that left and came back. His name is Ken. Um, he was an asshole. He's I think 5 years older than me, and we just did not hit it off. Like, just hated each other. And like he would sit in because we lived in apartments. He would sit in his room and just flip me the bird, um, and stuff like that. And I remember throwing a rock at his screen and accidentally hitting his window, breaking his window, and having to clean up the area around the apartment for like a week or something like that, or just to pay off the debt. The other one is the guy that I classify as my best friend for majority of my life. He still is. Just we don't talk as much. He moved. Um, Things went different with his life, so he's not online as much. We don't talk as much, but when we do, like it's still my friend. Like we actually even classify ourselves as brothers from different mothers. His name is Bryant. I remember uh, when I met him, um, he was one of the things that I remember with him is that gosh, sorry, the two things that I remember mostly about him at that age. The first one was that I was late for school, and while I was heading to school, he was coming to school, and we basically just like I saw him across the field, and instead of going to school, I walked to him, started chatting with him, and then walked to school. The second thing I remember is something that he brings up a lot, which is we had a teacher who, whenever you complete, like there was like a reward system. So if you completed stuff, you got like something out of a box. I don't know how often this happened. I can't remember. Nico, you have to stop meowing. Stop meowing. I can't remember how often this happened or anything like that. I just remember the one incident because um, we after you finish your work, you got to go up to the box and grab something, and I was like trying to finish my work, and I was not number one. I was like top five, I think, maybe top 10. But anyway, when I went up there, I grabbed Crane the Brain from Ninja Shows, and he was done a bit after me, like 3 or 4 after me, maybe even longer. I don't remember, to be fair. But what I do remember is the fact that he brought up the fact that he was so pissed off that I won because that's the toy he wanted. So he was like working his butt off to try to get this done so that he could actually get that toy. And then the toy was gone and he was just like defeated. So yeah, I remember that. Um, I also remember meeting a friend of mine at the time. I'm also really sketchy about when this happened because what happens is when I was 10, we lived up here. It would have to be when I was 10, though. I don't know. Anyway, when I was 10, we lived here, and then we moved back to where we were before. Um, my sister's father had requested visitation rights, so my mom moved back. Then he basically lost his job, and after losing his job, he just upped and moved. So my mom moved back. But we moved to the exact same like general area at one point. So because we moved to the same general area at one point, I legitimately cannot remember if it happened at one point or the other point. Because we even went to the same school. So I can't remember if I met these people at one point or the other point. But, God, cats, simmer it down. But anyway, I met another friend. What just happened to my phone? I think I just turned off the thing. No, it's just not turning on. Okay, sorry. Sorry about that, guys. Wanted to make sure I wasn't going too far over my time here and stuff like that. Met a couple other people. I was gonna bring them up, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Cause Nico's just really verbal right now. Sorry about that. So, what else? I guess I could bring up the. Well, I see. There's another thing. Like, I have another. I know another person. Her name's Alana. I met her in high school, and I remember her telling me once that she was in art class with me, and when she was put in art class with me, I guess I just gave the vibe off that I was a douchebag or something. But the art teacher made me sit next to her, and she just was like, "Oh God, I have to sit next to this guy." And I wanted her to tell that kind of story, like just see her point of view, because I remember her like bringing up the fact that like she like thought I was like some kind of like asshole or something. Like she didn't like me at first, and yeah, I kind of wanted to hear that story. I've already told the story about how I met Jay for the first time. Like when I sat next to Atlanta, I had no qualms about it. It was another person. Like, if I made friends, I made friends. If I didn't, I didn't. But I think the problem was like high school was just like I was like a mixture of depression and arrogance. And I don't know if like maybe I've just always had that, where it's like I'm a mixture of depression and arrogance. Maybe that's really how you have to explain me. I'm weird, and I have a mixture of depression and arrogance. Yeah, like I think the arrogance part is primarily just due to the idea that I believe sometimes that I'm like all that in a bag of chips, and then other times I'm um, understanding that I'm not, but like I just start feeling like I'm not good enough, and you need to stop, honey. I love you, and I'm fine with holding you, and I'm fine with petting you, but you gotta knock me out. Like, I'm trying to record. You require it all before this. And once, ow! Oh, there's Pumpkin. Oh, it just climbed up my freaking leg. Like, legitimately, the kitten just climbed up my leg. I'm getting beaten up here. You guys, you're not helping me. Ow, fuck's sakes, Pumpkin. Fuck. I don't know what the fuck he just decided to do, but he was like, he climbed up my leg, which is fine. A little hurt. Okay, Nico, I don't know what you want from me. Like, I don't. Like, I put you on my leg. You don't shut up. I put you over there. You don't shut up. Do you want to just, like, lay down? Like, here, I'll make a spot for you. You can lay down properly. Is that your problem? You want to lay down? There you go. I think she may be going to heat. So she's just being very finicky and, stuff like that. But anyway, with Pumpkin, he climbed up my leg, which was like, ow, that hurts. And then he sat on me. And then he turned it towards my knee and just clomped onto my knee. I'm like, dude, what the hell? But, first time I met Chris, I, heard of, we were living. Me and Tammy were together. And we were living in an apartment under Chris, and I heard a smash outside from someone smashing a window, and I thought it was Tammy's car. So I ran out there to go like make sure it wasn't Tammy's car and stuff like that, and it wasn't. Some guys threw a giant rock through someone else's car, sadly. So I looked back at Tammy and I was like, making sure, they didn't come back or whatever like that. So I was just waiting around for a few moments. And I looked at Tammy and then I just basically was like, flashed her, like basically just lifted my shirt up. It wasn't like anything like weird or anything like that. Just, lifted my shirt up towards her and, moved on. But Chris was upstairs and he heard the smash and he was staring out his window. So when I flashed him too. Uh, and then a month later or so, it turned out that Tammy and him went to this worked at the same place. So when then he's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like we live in the same place, we work in the same place. That's cool. And when they met after work, I think he was dropping her off. Uh, I like waved at her or whatever. And he's like, oh, and then yeah, that's where that went. Um, yeah, I have a couple other friends like you know that I occasionally talk to. But I don't think there was anything like really special. Like I don't think my connection, like meeting them, really was something like spectacular. I said spectacular, really weird. So the only reason I brought up Ken is because years later, Ken is actually Chris's friend. So he's one of Chris's friends. So it was interesting to meet him again years and years later. Like I was 10 when I met him the first time. I think it was 20, 20, yeah, about 22, whatever. So about 12 years later. So at least 10 to 12 years later that I met him a second time. And, it's like, I have no ill will towards him. Like, so, anyway, like, um, moved past it quickly. So, yeah, there's that. I'm not really sure what else. I guess I can bring up Tammy. That would be kind of nice. um, the couple things that stand out with Tammy was the first time I met her was online. Me and her were talking on like a chat site, and after that, she informed me that she comes to my town a lot. She doesn't live in the same place that I live in. She lives somewhere else, and she comes to mine a lot. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I didn't realize that that's, you know, like, because I guess at the time I was, um, about 18 or 19 or something like that when I first started talking to her. And I didn't really realize that there was, like, other towns out there. Like, internet was new to me. Like, I knew there was towns, but I didn't realize there was towns where they were small enough that you needed to go to another town to get certain special things. Or, stuff like that. So, she came once, saw me with her mom. I was working, so they, like, visited me at work. After that, Tammy's sister's friend was moving up here, so Tammy moved in with her and became roommates with her for like I gotta say probably about I don't know. I can't remember how long they were actually roommates before Tammy actually moved in. But me and Tammy are like we're just friends, and then all of a sudden like kind of blossomed to something else, like, and then yeah, we didn't like register it fully until like we were already theoretically dating. But Tammy's friends were all saying like "sad panda" was a thing that they kept saying. So like whenever they were like sad or whatever like that, they would just be like, "sad panda," And Tammy was the only one I heard say this because all of her other friends had said it when she was, back home. And when she said it, I was like, "You do kind of look like a panda, like, And she's like, "Thanks." And I was like, "Yeah, no, like, they're cute. She's like, "Yeah, they are cute." So from there on, Tammy was just known as Panda to a lot of people. Like, I'm known as Monkey to a bunch of people because when I was in high school, I would climb up, mostly just like the stairs at school. Like, they did a zigzag back where they went up, and then it was like up half a level, and then up the other half level went the opposite direction. And I would just like climb it instead, climb the center. And some guy saw me, he was like, "Dude, you're like a monkey." So that kind of stuck with me too. So yeah, there's that. Um, Bryant, going back to him, I remember vividly when I was in my 16s area, going to his house, and wrestling was a huge thing for us. And we'd like wrestle on a trampoline constantly and stuff like that. I remember trying to give him different moves, and he was trying to give me different moves and stuff like that. And then it kind of turned into this weird thing where his youngest brother, which was, oh god, if we were 16, he was like, I think he was like 6 years younger, maybe a little bit even. I gotta say about that. Anyway, maybe a little bit younger, like maybe 7 or something like that. But nonetheless, when we were all wrestling, he had a problem of giving up. Like, if we were like doing a pin or whatever, all of us would eventually just give up and like let the person, someone else win. So we were all switching back on who won. But his youngest brother just would not give up. So we were starting to do real submission moves to him, just so he would tap out because he would never give into a pin. So we had to keep doing like real submission moves. Like, we were doing fake ones, but he was just also like, squirm out of those and just be like, "Nope, I'm out, haha." So, and then we just all started doing real submission moves to some degree. And Bryant used to call me like Mr. Submission because I did different submission moves that weren't even like, real. Like, I would like be holding your arm, and then like the person would not be like going ow, so I just like move it slightly, and then they'd start saying ow, and like I'd like do shit like that. Like, me and Bryant, on more than one occasion, had done like full fledged submission matches where like we threw no punches, we threw no kicks, nothing like that. All we did was just try to grapple each other and give submission moves. And when we were doing that, the one time I created a finisher that was out of nowhere, like it was just a submission move out of nowhere. And then like he's like, "Wow, damn, that was freaking awesome." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then like um a month or two later, he's like, "Hey, do you know that submission you used?" I'm like, "Yeah, what about it?" It's like, "Do you know it's called a triangle choke?" I was like, or something like that. I was like, "What the hell?" It was like a real move. It's like just basically where you wrap your legs around the guy's neck with the guy's arm uh, protruding out. It's like a um, submission of some kind. I just looped my legs around him, trying to get him to give up because he's stronger than me. So I had to be more innovative. Innovative. I can't even say the word. The other submission move we had, my knees actually have been screwed up since because he's such a big guy. He was so strong, like so much stronger than me, that I had to use my legs to do submission moves because my arms were not strong enough. My legs were barely strong enough, so to keep up with his arms. So like I was constantly trying to do chokes because of it. So he kept trying to like do knee bars and like try to hurt my knees to make me submit. That one we actually had to go to a draw because we were both just like hurting each other without either one wanting to give up. I remember throwing up that one too because after I left him, like I think we were submission move wrestling for like an hour, And after I like was done with that, I went to go get a glass of water and then threw up the glass of water. Um, Ow, pumpkin! You don't need to use your claws, bro. The other one that I remember of Bryant, the because I have a lot of stories with Bryant, because for most of my high school life, he was like one of my three friends that I had, and out of high school, he's one of the two that you know I kept. The other one, I guess no, I had four friends in high school. So again, I lost two of them. One primarily was, I'm not going to say names because of the concept of it just being a bad situation. One was because um, as we started getting into adulthood, like early adulthood, like 18, 19, I started finding that the only time he contacted me was when he needed something. Like he didn't want to go home, he wanted to hang out with me because he didn't want to go home. I was like, oh, okay, that's, whatever. I'm like, why don't you want to go home? He's like, oh, I have to pick up my sister from like this, youth program. I'm like, so you just don't want to drive the extra, 10 minutes? He's like, yep. I'm like, cool. Or like, he's like, hey man, what's going on? I'm like, not much. He's like, oh yeah, maybe we should hang out. I'm like, yeah, okay, what do you want? Like, because that's about the time I started realizing that he would only talk to me when he wanted something. He's like, oh man, nothing. It's just, that cord I gave you a long time ago? I'm like, that Ethernet cord? He's like, yeah, that really long one. I'm like, yeah, what about it? He's like, do you still have that? I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, oh, okay. Well, oh man, I actually just realized that, I got something else to do. So I'm not gonna, I don't think I can come over. I'm like, okay, don't come over then. Ever. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, come on, man. You really just contact me when you fucking want something. He's like, well, I gotta go. And then just, yeah. We never talked after that. I think, no, actually, we talked once, I think, after that. But he's also, yeah, that's just basically the person he was. The other one, um, he was a great friend of mine. At least I thought, anyway. Like, we did a lot of things together. We did a lot of, like, we read a lot of comic books together. Like, we really hanged out a lot. But around 17, he came out as being gay. And despite the fact that I was very supportive about him, he decided he'd rather hang out with people that were either gay or bisexual, and that's the path he wanted to take. Now, that's my point of view from it, but looking back at it, I also was kind of a weird friend at the time. Because I was poor, and he wasn't, I found that I was kind of a mooch a lot, and that could have been also a deciding factor in his thing. Like, he was going to cut some friends out of his life because, he wanted all these other friends that were, going through the same thing he was, which is understandable. Like, it's hard understanding those concepts in life. And then, after that, Nico, you really need to stop. And then after that, the fact that, I sometimes was a problem. Like, uh, so I can understand. I hold no grudge towards them for that. Pumpkin, stop clawing onto me, man. Um, yeah, my cat Nico is really just not stop talking. So I may have to end this here. I'm already at 35 minutes, so I'm not too bad. But it's just I wish she would stop. I guarantee you, the moment I stop recording this, she'll shut up. Because I just recorded over an hour and a half of Rimworld right before this, and she has not said a freaking word. It's just when I'm recording this right here that she's just like, I gotta talk. But if I missed out anybody that you're like, hey, wow, he didn't tell you any stories about me. That sucks. Like, I thought we were good friends or whatever. Just keep in mind that, again, doing this off the fly, I'm trying to remember people to actually go with, because I do have a couple other people I could bring up stuff with, but the stories about how we met aren't usually that, like, huge or like, I met some person, you know. So it is hard. That's why I'm also not holding a, like, I am not upset. I was gonna say holding a grudge, but I'm not upset about the fact that uh, no one sent in stories, because I get it. It's hard to, try to come up with a story for someone where it's just like we have normal lives. So, like, I know that I'm missing, a friend of ours named Owen. I didn't tell his story about us meeting him, or us meeting the other mutual friend of that, which is Kyne. You know, so I never brought up those two guys, and, like, they were great guys too. Like, so, I don't talk to them as much anymore. You know, it's part of life. It sucks, losing friends, especially when most of my life I haven't had that many. So every time I lose one, it kind of sucks. And then, you know, as I've gotten older, the gaining them has slowed down dramatically, but the losing them has still, kept steady. So, less people in your life. But I know that, certain people, like, are busy, and that's why they haven't done it. Like Tammy, for example. You know, I understand that, she's my wife, and, you'd think that she'd make one, but at the same time, she goes to work. She comes home. She spends time with me. When is she supposed to do it? When is she supposed to sit by herself and actually do it? Like, we're one of those couples that are really always with each other. I'm asleep when she's at work. I'm awake when she's asleep. That's why I get to do all these things. Like, I don't usually record while she's not at work or not asleep. If she's awake and at home, I don't record. I spend all the time with her. And it's just how we make sure that our relationship is, staying strong. I know there's lots of people that have different things that they do. Like, there's couples out there that like being apart, or, you know, will go have other friends, but all my friends are her friends too. So, okay, so I was wrong. Tammy did actually record one for me. I guess she recorded about 2 or 3 days ago. So probably on the 12th. But she just sent it to me, like, on the 15th. So she hit the deadline. It was just, she was a little bit later in the day. So I'm just going to play it because it's on my computer. And then, yeah.
So I just wanted to wish you happy birthday, Rob. And just wanted to say that I love you, and that my story would be one that was recent, and it was when I was making some thumbnail art for you and for one of your games. And you pitched me the idea, and I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and work on it. And thought about it, and finally decided to sit down and work on it a couple weeks ago. And then, as I was getting everything put together, I kind of turned my screen and I'm like, "Is this what you're looking for?" And you were just like, "Yeah, that was exactly what I was looking for." It was like just like you plucked it out of my head, and I was like, it makes me happy to hear that you and I are on the same wavelength, and it's one of the main reasons why I love you. And I just, there's lots of other stories I could get into, but the that one is one that definitely stuck out of my mind as of recent. So yeah, I might send another one, but I love you.
So, Tammy, if you're listening to this, just keep in mind that you can send them to me later on, and I can, like I said, put them in next year's thing. So, also, Tammy, I do love you too. Thank you for doing this. And yeah, I remember it being very recent that that happened. That was for my Phasmophobia thumbnail. But yeah, if you are a friend and you are listening to this and you're like, oh man, I forgot to freaking do one, or like you're like, oh, I didn't even know I could do one, or whatever. In short, it's supposed to be like a 5 or 10 minute um little splur. It can be less if you guys really can't come, more, or it could be a little bit more. It's just I didn't want it to be extremely long because I wanted to try to get a bunch of people in it. But it could be like 5, 10 minutes of you just telling a story about me, whatever you want to, and then I will put it in for next year, or the year after that, or the year after that. It's not that big a deal. I can use them eventually. I can use them for my next birthday, or whenever my birthday actually hits a Wednesday. I can just save them all for that. So, until next time, my horde, adios.